Good afternoon. Welcome to Ask an Expert with Angela Lang. Angela is the owner of the Lang Learning Center, and she has many years of experiences with education. She taught 15 years in the Boone Community School District, where she taught special education from kindergarten through third grade, and 13 years as a transitional kindergarten teacher for 2 years. Within those years as a special education teacher, she gained valuable knowledge and success in creating individualized educational plans. When she created an individualized educational plan, she focused on the academic goals and very much were strengths-based for each student. Any behavior plans were created with a love and logic approach. And she worked hard in building positive and successful relationships with school staff and families. So we're very excited to have Angela here today to share her insight and expertise. And Angela, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you for having me. You know, it's one of these weird places where you feel like you're kind of an expert, but yet you're like, oh, do I know everything I need to know? But please ask questions as we get through this presentation, and I will try to answer those to the best of my ability. So I'm going to go ahead and share the presentation now. Okay, I hope everyone is having a great afternoon. And I titled this presentation, How Families and Schools Can Successfully Support a Child with Learning Differences, especially new parents in the school system. How do you navigate when you see that your child is having difficulties within the school setting? So again, my name is Angela Lang. My license is in early childhood and special education. I am the owner of the Lang Learning Center just recently for the past couple of years. This is my email, langlearningcenter@gmail.com. And if you have any questions after the presentation, you can always reach out to me. I will try to, like I said, answer any questions to the best of my ability. I have been a teacher in the state of Iowa for the past 18 years. 14 years of what I have done, like Deb said, was a multi-categorical special education teacher for kindergarten through third grade. And in that placement, it was many different categories of what children needed, whether it was behaviors or academics with reading, writing, or math. And so especially in those early years, I was at the forefront of building IEP plans with the families, with staff, with principals, to really set that foundation of what that plan for those children would look like, especially as they went through those early years. That early intervention is so, so important for our young kids. It really sets the tone for how their education will go moving forward to the future. For 2 years, my last 2 years in public education, I was a transitional kindergarten teacher. So those kiddos that have summer birthdays or maybe hadn't attended school yet because of health needs, that they had to have an extra year of kindergarten. And that, I said, general education teachers have so much on their plate, and we really, really need to be respectful of what they do, because it is really a difficult job being a general education teacher, and they have a lot to manage within a classroom community. And so many of our teachers here in the state of Iowa do an amazing job of running those general education classrooms. And it really does take a strong team to build those positive relationships with families, with children, with other staff members, and with a lot of different people that work within our school system. So I learned a lot in that setting as well. In 2019, I did resign from public education, and I'm currently the owner of the Lang Learning Center here in Boone. My goal today is to provide you with guidance and resources to build a positive working relationship between schools and families. Again, please ask questions throughout this webinar as you think of them, and I will answer them at the end. So first off, I want to talk about education professionals. My opinion is that, and as we all see as we work through public education, or at any teacher really in the private setting as well, they hold an education license in the state of Iowa. We are the experts, and we need to be acting as such, that we are the experts in understanding and applying strategies within a child's educational needs, social needs, and emotional needs. All teachers, administrators, AEA, and Department of Education professionals must uphold what children have a right to within education. We are the ones that families come to ask, how will you help my child? What services will you provide to help my child succeed? And building a plan that is strength-based and working in a structured way of what their needs are will only build success for these children. So I can't reiterate enough how much our education professionals have to be the experts in understanding what children need in order to be successful. The next part is families are the experts in knowing your child. You have been the parents or whatever family members have been a part of your child's life. You are the person that knows your child best. You know what makes them feel happy, feel successful. You know what makes them feel frustrated or feel like they need help with. You are, again, the expert in your child. What do you want and what do you expect from your child's school? Even in pre-kindergarten at those early stages, ask questions, become knowledgeable in what your curriculum is at your child's school, and ask them, what does a day-to-day instructional routine look like for your child and for that classroom community? That's really going to show you what your child is learning and growing within that area in, again, like I said, pre-K through all the other grades as well. What are the academic success rates within your community school district? Those should be on your district's website. And so you can go and see what areas did children succeed in that school district? What areas might need to be worked on within that school district, and become an active part of your community school district. The other part is talk to other families to hear what their experiences are within that school district. Ask them what they felt has gone well in working with their school that they are attending. Ask them what difficulties they have had with the experiences within their school district. You're going to learn a lot from a lot of different families who have been through this process before. So ask those questions. The next part is get to know your local elected school board members. They were elected within your community and they chose to become an active member of your community school district. They and the district administration, ask them, are they knowledgeable about what instructional strategies are taking place in the early childhood setting, in elementary settings, middle school and high school? Ask those questions. Do they know what each child has a right to within a public education setting? Again, these are your elected school board members who have volunteered to become a part of your community school district, and they really need to be held accountable for what happens within our community school districts. Again, like I said, email or call to ask your school board members and your district administration if they are aware of the legal rights children have within education. If they answer that they don't know or they are not aware of what legal rights, find information that you can send to them and email to them, because that will only help them build a better community school district for every child that attends your community schools. I believe that effective and positive communication between schools and families is the key to your child's success. Listen on both sides, as a family and as school staff. Listen to what each other's needs are calmly, effectively, and positively. Know what data is out there. As a family, you have a right to ask for what assessments have been given to your child. As a school district, you need to have thorough data that shows what academic strengths a child has and what academic needs are for that child. If it's a behavior issue, find the function of a behavior throughout the school day. I have seen and witnessed that there is a lot of times a common thread of what type of behavior is happening within that school day. And you can really pinpoint why a child is acting that way and rearrange that day in small positive ways that can really make their day function so much more positively. As a family, know the milestones your child should be reaching at each age level. Do not be afraid to ask for help. If you notice your child is struggling with speech, find out what your child should be knowing and understanding and talking about, and ask for help from your community school districts or your AEAs that can offer an evaluation if your child is struggling with any part of academics, social, emotional needs. Or if your school has concerns, listen first. Listen to what their concerns are. You have to remember that when your child enters school, they are now entering a classroom community. There can be a lot of parts of a school day that can be positive, but there can also be a lot of parts of a day that can be frustrating. What is the frustration that your child is feeling? Is it with academics? Is it with something within transition times of a school? What are the areas that are most difficult for them? Listen to what the school is wanting from your child and expecting, and then work together. Be proactive. Do not take the wait and see approach. Be proactive with what your child's needs are. Work together at school and at home. Education professionals and families are legally allowed to say dyslexia. In 2015, the federal law 1108 was created that it allows professionals in the education system and families to address dyslexia. If you feel that your child is showing early signs of dyslexia or any other learning differences, ask for testing within your school. Be specific. Ask what subtests, what the scores are. What areas do they see that they're really doing well in? What areas do they see that they could build an intervention? Do not, again, take the wait and see approach. Early intervention is crucial for your child's success. Does your child or school or teachers know what the science of learning to read is? There are a ton of amazing researchers that are out there right now that are showing what evidence-based results are when we show a structured approach to learning our language in text and written form. I shared 2 resources with you that I really encourage you to look up. 2 researchers that I have found the most productive and helpful in building plans for my students that I work with now are Dr. Sally Shaywitz of Yale University. She is the author of Overcoming Dyslexia. If you are an educator or a family, I highly, highly encourage you to find this book. It is amazing, thorough, detailed book about how children process language through listening, through hearing, through print, and through written form. She does an amazing job of showing how our brains learn a language. The second one is Dr. Marianne Wolf. She is the director for dyslexia and diverse learners and social justice at UCLA. She is the author of Proust and Squid, The Story and Science of the Reading Brain. She has I've had the wonderful opportunity of seeing her speak in person, and she is so passionate and so thorough with how she believes children and knows and has seen proven how children learn how to read and process our language. She has a new book also about how children are learning to read in the digital age and how that is changing their brain makeup. And so it's just very fascinating, the information that she has out there. So I highly encourage you to look up these 2 amazing women who are at the forefront of changing how we should be providing instruction within our classrooms for our children. The next thing I want to share is bring an advocate to any meeting or bring a family member. It is so, so important because this is your child. It is at a very emotional and stressful time, especially when you feel that your child is struggling in an academic area or behavior area. When you have an extra set of eyes and ears and someone to take notes, that is so helpful to ask questions that you may not even think of. An advocate can also help direct the goals you are wanting for your child. So don't be afraid to bring someone that you feel and trust could be a great advocate for your child. I wanted to share a few resources with all of you. The first one I use quite frequently. It is understood.org. They offer a lot of great articles, videos, and really show what it's like for children who have maybe executive functioning, organization areas that are hard for them. They really go through different needs that your child at different ages and really help you understand what your child needs to be successful and also what your rights are for your child. The second one that really deals with a lot of laws and educational laws is the National Center for Learning Disabilities, and that is through www.ncld.org. The third one is Rights Law. They kind of go through different scenarios that other families have gone through and different outcomes that they have gone and different things that you can ask for when you feel that your child is struggling within the educational system. The next 3 are mostly dealing with dyslexia or structured literacy. How can you build a structured literacy classroom? What are some early signs that you need to look for when your child is struggling with our language or whatever language they are processing at this time? The third one is Decoding Dyslexia Iowa. They are at the forefront here in Iowa of ensuring that laws are passed within our state that ensures success for children, 1 in 5 children who have dyslexia, and that they have especially teachers have the training that they need to teach every child in their classroom. The last website I shared is a gentleman named Brian Mendler. He works a lot with behaviors and children that have a hard time interacting or following directions within the classroom setting. And he has a very positive, proactive approach in how we need to manage our children within the classroom community. So I encourage you to go see his videos. He has a YouTube channel as well, and just an amazing resource if you feel like your child is struggling socially and emotionally within the classroom. So I thank you for listening to my presentation, and I will see if there's any questions that you have for me.
There are, Angela. So thank you. Really good points about the importance of developing those relationships, but yet at the same time, making sure that you're clear on gathering information, right? Data, bringing an advocate, or not even but just another person to help hear the information.
Yeah.
So some really good points that you made.
Thank
Okay,
you.
one of the questions we have, what recommendations do you have for how families can share their expertise on their child and feel heard? And I know this is a question that we've had come through Ask Resource Center. How can the family bring that story to life with those professionals?
Yep. You know, my first step, what I would take is email your child's teacher and the principal. Attach that both people into that email and see what response you get. And I always say, take a positive approach. This is what you're seeing that your child, especially if you have even an evaluation already that has been completed by a doctor or an education professional. I hope that your school district is listening to what your child needs, because you have that, your child has that right to build a positive education plan. And again, like I say, our educational professionals are upheld by a code of ethics and educational standards, and we have to meet the needs of our students that we serve. If you have a child who has a medical need, we as a school district or teachers cannot ignore that, nor should we ignore what needs every child has or what families bring to us. We really need to listen first and then help parents make a plan of what we are going to be doing within the school district. If you don't get a response or a response that you agree with from your teacher or from your administration, talk to your school board. You elected those people to that school board, and talk to them about what needs your child has and where you are seeing things that are not positive within a classroom or school district, and what areas as leaders they could do to improve that school district. So I highly recommend you communicate with all the different parties that are within your school district, because they all play a very specific role, but yet they all work together as a team. And especially those leadership roles, they really set the tone for what each school district will provide for families.
Do appreciate that you said start with the teacher. I'm a believer that always start at the lowest level and communicate starting there and give that teacher an opportunity.
Yeah, and 95% of the time, every teacher is so responsive and wants to know your child. You know, occasionally we get where we have a teacher who doesn't, but I think every person that I've ever worked with as a staff member in general education or special education wants to know your child. So give them benefit of that doubt that they really do want to know your child. And again, take a positive approach and really listen to what their classroom needs are as a teacher, because there's sometimes 25 to 28 kids in a classroom, and that can be overwhelming of figuring out how to build that environment in a positive way.
Okay, we have another question. It's got multiple parts. How should I approach my school about wanting help for my child or wanting more information? I don't want to offend them. There are long wait lists to have my child tested for dyslexia. Can my school screen for dyslexia? And can they officially diagnose dyslexia?
Iowa is an interesting state. If I always encourage you, if you feel like you need that official diagnosis of dyslexia, that is an amazing resource to have. The difficult part with that is the school districts do not have to accept that diagnosis. But what you can do is explain, this is how my child learns the language, and this is how they need to process and have instruction provided for them. You have a right to an educational evaluation through the Area Education Association. So you need to ask, if your child is struggling or falling behind, You have that right, and they cannot deny you an evaluation. They also cannot deny an IEP just based on whether they're so discrepant from their peers. They really have to look at, and they can provide dyslexia screening. AEAs are trained in providing thorough dyslexia screeners to help pinpoint what children need in order for reading and written language instruction. And if you're not comfortable with having an education evaluation right away, be very specific though of what intervention needs to happen. And you cannot take this wait and see and wait and fail approach. There are very specific areas that your child needs. And most children are given an assessment 3 times a year, especially on the early grades. Ask for what those subtests are and ask where the errors were. What areas of reading did they struggle in the most? And really be thorough in what those children need and diagnostic about what those children need in order for their brains to learn our language. I will say, Dr. Sally Shaywitz and Dr. Marianne Wolf both have stated learning our language is not a natural thing for our brains to know how to do. So it can be a very difficult task for many, many children. And we have to, as educational professionals, be diagnostic with what our children need in order to learn our language. And the answers are within assessments. When you screen early and you look at what those developmental areas for each child is, and you find those areas that they're struggling in, you can build an amazing intervention that is multisensory, structured, and thorough for that child.
We have another question. My child is in upper elementary. Is it too late to address reading problems?
It's never too late. I always encourage, as soon as you feel like there's a struggle or your child is at risk or persistently at risk with assessments in those early grades, do not let your school districts wait. If you are at this place where you're in upper elementary, ask for that educational evaluation. Do not wait anymore. You need to offer assistive technology. And I always encourage, with text and listening, that is reading. Children need to have all senses, multiple senses going while they're processing our language. And listening to books is reading for many children. And that's how they gain information.
All right, well, it looks like that's the end of our questions. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon with Ask an Expert with Angela Lang. So Angela, thank you. And we look forward to continuing these conversations.
Thank you. I would love to come back. So let me know if there's any more questions. I would love to answer them.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you.